Hey folks, Eric Bray, Focus Fishing Guide Service. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock Lake. It is Tuesday, June the 20th. Happy birthday to my brother down in Florida. It's his birthday tomorrow, so go ahead and wish him happy birthday right here. I've been on the water pretty much every day this past week. Actually, not pretty much. I have been on the water every day this past week, both here on Table Rock and on Taneycomo, and fish are biting. Things are changing slightly, but fish are biting. Not moving quite as rapidly as I thought they would last week, but we are catching quite a few fish. As far as the lake level is concerned, we are at 923.44 as of 1 o'clock today. That puts us about 6.5 feet above normal summer pool, or 8.5 feet above normal winter pool. Since it's summer, we're going to say 6.5 feet above normal pool. There is still some water in the bushes. Can catch a few in the bushes if you're so inclined. And they have slowed the water down. I've noticed a lot of times they're really backing that current off. And if you happen to be on the water during those time periods, there will be fish a little bit shallower up in those bushes. They're not running 4 generators 24/7 anymore. They're running water constantly, but I think it was yesterday morning they only had a couple of generators, or 1 generator running. By the afternoon they'd upped it to 4. So just kind of keep an eye on the Corps of Engineers app and you'll have a good idea how much water they're running at any given time. As far as our water temperature is concerned, we're over 80. We're over 80. Pretty much it was, I think, 79.7 this morning when I launched at 5:30. The time we got off the water, we were at 82.5. Hot, sunny day, so it doesn't surprise me at all. But we have kind of crossed that 80-degree threshold all over the lake. Doesn't seem to matter where you are, you're going to find 80-degree water all over the lake. But the bite has been pretty good. We had actually a really good day today. Even with the high skies, even with the sun, even with the cold front passing through and having fog this morning, we had a really good day today. But if you guys are coming down, say you want to fish the lower end of the lake, I'm going to tell you, the lower end is probably the toughest part of the lake to fish right now. A lot of boat traffic and a lot of fishing pressure. A lot of guys fishing down there on the lower end, a lot of guys out drop shotting, a lot of guys throwing a jig. You can catch them on the lower end, but I will tell you it is probably the toughest end of the lake to fish. As far as the shallow bite is concerned, we're still catching them on a net head, throwing that new jewel net head. Actually catching quite a few doing that. Catching them on a squirrel head, matching that up with either a beaver. Seems like the beaver's been a little bit better this last week, especially the UV beaver or UV whisker beaver, or a speed crawl. Most of the fish really haven't moved that much. They're just not nearly as aggressive as they were, say, a week or 2 weeks ago. Down on that lower end, I think it's because of the fishing pressure, and it's also the boating pressure. There's a lot of boats. By 9 o'clock in the morning, you're dealing with a lot of boat traffic and a lot of big boat traffic, ski boats, jet skis, that sort of thing, and it's really kind of shut that shallow bite down. Good in the morning. As the day wears on, it seems like that shallow bite really starts to slow down. But we are catching them shallow. Gravel points, gravel runouts from the old bank line, which is about 6.5, 7 feet deep, out to about 15, 20 feet deep. As the sun comes out, as usual, back out a little bit further, go out as deep as 25. But we are catching them fairly shallow up there. Drop shot bite is starting to kick in, but it is not the strongest drop shot bite I've ever seen. We actually spent the last 2 hours of today's trip, running them in the mid-lake, trying to catch a few drop shot fish. Fellas I had never done it, wanted to see how to do it, and it's been tough. The drop shot bite, they're not schooled up real good. The water clarity is not great for the drop shot, and there's not a lot of shad out on the main lake, out on those main lake points like there normally is this time of year. That being said, we are still catching a few on a drop shot with either a shad-shaped worm or a UV worm, UV blood worm. Those sort of things are working. Seems like the better bite on the drop shot is still on those gravel runouts and gravel points. Get out there about 28 to 40, even 45 feet deep, right on the bottom. And when you do find some, you find 1 or 2, you're going to find a school of them. So if you do happen to find some out there fairly deep on a drop shot rig, stay on them because there's a lot of fish there. Move up here to Kimberling City where I am today, and we basically fished from Point 5 to the mouth of the James today, and we had at least 10, maybe 12 or 13 keepers in 6 hours. Actually in 4 hours, because the last 2 hours we spent messing around trying to catch deep fish. Catching them really good on a spider jig here. 5/16 Jewel Pro spider jig or 7/16 Jewel Pro spider jig actually seems to be working a little bit better than the Ned rig or the squirrel head here in the mid-lake area. Best colors today, Okeechobee Blue was dynamite, Table Rock Secret was really good, and Orange Craw was really good. Did really well, matched all those up with a speed craw, a little bit of orange on the pinchers, and most of our fish came from about 6 foot deep out to about 15, maybe 18 foot deep. But caught all 4 species today as far as keepers. Had smallmouth, had spots, had largemouth, and had a nice meanmouth. Had about a 16-inch meanmouth. So caught some really good fish on the spider jig. Ned head's working here as well. Using the new Jewel Ned head, matching it up with a Bass Pro Shop sticko, or half of a sticko. And the squirrel head's working really good as well. Caught a number of fish the other day down here on the squirrel head with either a beaver, UV whisker beaver, or the speed craw. And again, those fish are going to be on those gravel runouts, on those gravel banks, anywhere from about 6-8 feet deep out to about 15 or even 20-25 foot deep, just depending on the sun and how much sunlight penetration you've got. The water's still got quite a bit of color. I'd say we probably only have about 3 or 4 foot of visibility, if that, here in the mid-lake. So catching a lot of fish up shallow still. Like I said, we did go out and fish deep today. We had one in 2 hours fishing deep. We saw a few fish, had a few bites. They're just not grouped up like I like to see them to really get a good deep bite going right now. So really didn't catch them deep down here in the mid-lake area. Go up into the James, and shallow bite's king in the James. Catching a lot of fish on a jig up there as well. Jewel Pro spider jig has been dynamite. Same colors. The water's actually a little bit clearer in the James than it is here. Same colors are working. Okeechobee Blue, definitely #1 color. Table Rock Secret's a good color. Again, matching that up with a speed craw and fishing that gravel, fishing those gravel transitions to rock a little bit, but mostly gravel, and anywhere from about the bushes out to 12, maybe 15 feet deep up the James. Seem to be holding a little bit shallower, and we are catching a lot more largemouth up the James than we are, say, here where it's mostly smallmouth and spots. A lot more largemouth up the James on a jig. Did catch a few over the weekend on a spinnerbait when it was windy and cloudy and rainy. War Eagle tandem spinnerbait around the bushes, had some good wind blowing into a couple of banks, and basically hitting those holes in the bushes where you've got a little gap and you can throw back behind the bushes. Did pretty well with the spinnerbait. Wouldn't call it a dominant pattern, but if you have a windy, cloudy, or rainy day, you can put a few in the boat on the spinnerbait up the James as well. Go up the White River, and the White River continues to be strong, catching a lot of fish, basically anywhere from Baxter all the way up. Fished up there on Friday of last week and did find some topwater fish up there, but it was a little bit different deal. They weren't out on points, they weren't out on the main lake. We were actually running to the backs of some of the bigger creeks, like Big Creek, Big Indian, Little Indian, Mill Creek up there, and going all the way to the back and fishing those flat banks that you could actually get to the bank. Didn't have a lot of bushes on them. We were going behind the bushes and throwing in a foot or two of water. Did really well with a pop-R up there. Had a guy on Friday, he had a 3.5, 4 pounder on it, and he was actually fishing a tournament over the weekend, so we'd catch one and move, catch one and move. Caught 2 or 3 keepers in the back of a couple of creeks and actually pulled it away from some fish up there. So there's a strong topwater bite in the backs of the creeks up there, up the White. Jig bite is just like it is all over the lake, catching more fish, at least here in the White. It seems like the spider jig is much more dominant than the Ned rig, than the shaky head. Doesn't mean we're not catching them on a Ned rig, but we seem to catch more and better quality on a 5/16 or 7/16 Jewel Pro spider jig, Okeechobee Blue, Table Rock Secret, Orange Craw. Any of those really seem to be working, matched up with a speed craw. Putting a little, I can't overemphasize how important it is to put a little bit of color on the pinchers of your craw. Orange, chartreuse, whatever you like. I've been doing a lot of orange just because every fish I bring in is spitting up crawdads, and all the crawdads have orange on them. So orange has been really important on the pinchers of the craw for catching better fish and catching more fish. Said we are catching them on a Ned rig up there. Doing okay with the Jewel Ned head. 1/4 ounce has been a little bit better than the 1/8 ounce. Most of the fish, just like on the jig, are anywhere from that 8 to 18 to 20 feet deep, a little bit deeper as the sun comes up. But a lot of fish on a Ned head, A lot of fish on a squirrel head. Squirrel head seems like the best bait is a speed craw up there. Again, putting a little bit of orange on it makes a huge difference on the number of bites. But catching quite a few fish on a speed craw, spider jig would be my #1 bait up there right now though. We did fish deep last week up there, but I got to be honest with you, I was pretty disappointed with the deep bite up there too. Caught a few, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 in an afternoon. But it's just not where the shad aren't where they should be and the fish aren't where they should be. The high water has really kept that deep bite down. So deep bite would not be my #1 pattern up there for sure. I would definitely look at a jig, shaky head, Ned rig, that sort of thing, or a top water early in the day, especially towards the backs of the creeks when you get to those banks, those open banks where they don't have a lot of bushes in front of them. Some really quality largemouth move up. Seems like once the sun comes up, they back out. You can catch them flipping around those bushes on the edge. But really, first thing in the morning, there is a solid topwater bite when you get up into the White River. Haven't really noticed that down here or at the dam, and didn't really try it up the James. Basically, on my trip up the White last week, I decided to try something stupid, and we went back in there, and it worked. So, didn't get to try it up the James. I imagine it would work up the James as well. Guys, it is almost the end of June. Well, tomorrow's the first day of summer, so, and it's already hot as summer. I guess we've got a week left in June. Fish are biting, and they're biting surprisingly shallow. These guys I took out today, we really want to learn how to fish deep, and unfortunately we kept catching them shallow, so we never really got out there deep. Spent an hour or two out there, maybe an hour and a half. Caught one, but the shallow bite has been fantastic and continues to be that way. I don't see it changing until the water clears and they get it closer to normal pool, which probably won't be sometime till middle of the end of July. The way they've slowed the water flow down, they may hold it up here all the way through July, which would be fine with me as long as it keeps the fish shallow. But catching a lot of fish, it's fun. It's been a really good summer. But if you guys are coming down, June's basically full. I got one more week of June, and I don't have an open date. I might have one open date next week in June, but that's about it. July is really starting to fill up. Looks like end of July is your best bet. The holiday weekend is completely full, but if you're coming towards the middle or end of July, pretty good chance I can work you in on a trip. But catching a lot of fish. If you guys are thinking about coming down and you want to hire a guide, want to learn how to fish deep, want to learn how to fish a jig, now's the time to come. Catching a lot of fish, and it's fun. But if you think about hiring a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743. Hit my website, focusfishing.com. Shoot me an email, book online, whatever works for you. We'll get hooked up, figure out best dates and times to go. But give me a call. Let's get something booked before I get all booked up through July and into August. I mean, August is already starting to fill up. So guys, if you're coming down, you want to hire a guide, give me a call. Let's get something hooked up. Let's get something booked and get something going. But really, I appreciate you guys watching the videos. Thanks for subscribing. We're up over 2,100 subscribers. Really appreciate that. But thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.